Oh, hello. Hang on, does this maintain even if I do this like this? Yes, it does. Oh man, what words can be said about the Unfuck America tour? If no one else is keeping up with that insane shit show of drama. One of those other situations, one of those other numerous examples where the left kneecaps themselves for no discernible purpose.
The hour of our next victory rapidly approaches.
I'm not stunned. I'm not shocked. I guess more than anything, I want to feel disappointed, but eh.
Engaging orbital thrusters.
It's drama for its own sake.
Orbit synchronized.
I hate this map I'm on. I really do. So how did this whole thing start? God, it started with that call. So these black girls were streaming. There's a group of black content creators. They're making a stream that seemed entirely designed to farm rage. Race farming. You know, it got people together to claim that the Unfuck America tour was in some way bigoted towards black content creators because, well, a lot of white people were the face of it, and just a whole litany of reasons that really do not seem to say much of anything of substance. I'm beginning to think that's par for the course with these kinds of really doesn't penetrate that. I'm really gonna guess these are par for the course now for leftist content creators anymore. Does this really not penetrate this bottom armor? Oh, it does. Why wasn't it penetrating it earlier? Or do I just suck? Maybe I just suck. We'll assume it's that. Every time I think about starting a stream on TikTok for the purposes of making content, political, especially because when I watch the debates on TikTok, they're kind of low level, easy mode. Not that I'm necessarily looking for easy mode, but there's not much of substance there, and it just feels like where there's substance lacking, there must be demand as well. I'm stuck in a tree. I'm stuck in a tree! This isn't fair! And then there's kind of a lot of debate perverts there that perform for cameras, but they're not really interested in having conversations. They really are just playing gacha games. Holy shit, I'm getting annihilated. On a really easy difficulty too. give this thing a peek. I really just got bitch slapped or bitch stabbed.
Request approved. Reinforcements on the way. Democracy has landed. Allied destroyer joining squadron, deploying Helldiver to combat zone.
Oh, which direction was I going? Fuck, that direction.
Map, northwest, 200 meters. Allied destroyer joining squadron, deploying Helldiver to combat zone. Requesting supplies. Sending down equipment package.
I'm sure there's a word for these type of leftists you could see in that stream. I don't know where I'm talking to myself here, but when gets a chance to watch that stream with the organizer from the Fuck America tour, we need to come up with a term to describe this sort of performative outrage you see from some leftists over the issue of race. One where their like sense of humor just completely evaporates. They're condescending as fuck in the way they explain race relations or race issues to you. It's a whole litany of things, but we're lacking the best of terms for that. Where? Oh. Fuck me. Well, that's bad. Oh my god. Well, that was unintended.
Orbital inbound. Firing orbital barrage. Clear the area. Found something. Enemy tactical asset within threat range. Warning, you are in range of enemy artillery. I got the terminal.
Oh fuck! Who shot me? Oh, he shot me.
Warning, you are in range of enemy artillery. Supplies. Engaging terminal. Warning, you are in range of enemy artillery.
Don't tell me that ragdolled me into the fucking machine. It did.
Northwest.
It'd be shitting me.
Fire in the
Hate
hole.
this shit.
Democracy delivered.
Rip me. Ah! how this game is so bugged.
I got the terminal. Request approved. Reinforcements on the way. Point me to the enemy. Freedom requires firepower. Lost fabricator, north, 50 meters. Objective located. I'm on it. Mission at 30 minutes remaining. Dropping a pin, northwest, 300 meters.
100 super credits. It's my lucky day. Yeah, we can. I'll fight that. Yeah, you know what?
Automaton outpost destroyed. Calling in reinforcements. Found something.
What the hell do I mean drama bait? Just what I said. It's bait for drama jockeys to just slop up. Like they're a fat guy in a KFC there to take a little piece off at a time and just get gluttonous and fat. There's a greasy, fat fuck substance of this stupid, absolute, stupid fucking debate. Or this whole stupid incident. Like, you've really got to reach to find microaggressions. I think you've got to reach to find some microaggressions within that. It's just another instance of the left cannibalizing itself, and it's schlop. So people can say, look at the left cannibalizing itself. Then you've got all these creators doing this kind of performance where they're like, everybody's tripping over themselves to be the least racist person in the room, and it's so cringe. Fuck, this is why people hate leftists. It really is. They're immensely condescending for no real purpose. What do they want? And who the fuck knows? Who the fuck cares? Like, this whole thing started off of like a lack of diversity. This claimed lack of diversity within the Unfuck America tour, which I'm not entirely convinced it's not all that. It's not diverse, but whatever. You have those squibbles all you want. Damn, there were like so many different compounding things. Then there's the Dean Withers' balls got chopped off. So then there's that live stream call. It's just a whole bunch of really dumb shit. So what do this is just for people who want to enjoy a narrative. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. Schlop. It's schlop, Deej. It's not worth the time or attention it's been given. You watched the full Destiny video, you are in the loop. Well, look who gets their news from Destiny. I really wish we were able to talk about like some of the more substantive things that we actually do need to address that get lost in the weeds because of shit like this. Racism is definitely one of them. But this isn't productive. This isn't... There's no higher ultimate purpose served in the way race... Like, this is not a venue for discussing racial tensions in America. It's just not. It's just drama slop, like I said. Like, we could be talking about... There was an interview that came out recently, right? Where Donald Trump was asked if he thinks the president has a duty to uphold the U.S. Constitution. And he answered, I don't know. I don't know if the president has a duty to uphold the U.S. Constitution. We're not even talking about that. You know, it's just disappointment for me. Like, progressives are the reasons progressives lose. Why do I think progressives enable people to behave this way? Like the cringe black girls did to the organizer. For the same reason because there's a demand for it. There's a demand for people to watch it, you know, and take some side in some idiot debate. There's demand for people to be in those kinds of debates and have those conversations. So I don't think people would be doing this if this wasn't something people, you know, got off to. People want to watch black creators trip all over themselves, crying about racism, especially from the left, because the left are always the ones who are actually concerned about racism, whereas the right doesn't give a shit if they got open white nationalists in their movement. So, supply and demand. If there weren't people doing it, there probably wouldn't be anybody to give a shit. The thing that kills me, though, is the way it just... It sucks up air in this space, you know, and we lose focus of things that actually do matter, so... Like I said about Trump saying he doesn't have to uphold the U.S. Constitution earlier, right? The fact that U.S. citizens have been deported, right? Our conversations being completely dictated on somebody else's terms, you know, and if it's not the right doing it, it's the left doing it. Or we're talking about things that just really don't even matter. I mean, it doesn't serve Dean's interest to push back. Dean doesn't want to alienate his audience. Like I said, it's his job, dude. If I were getting paid this way, like, fuck, you think I'm gonna... Well, maybe I would. I was gonna say... You think I'm gonna come out swinging against a bunch of black girls and call them uppity or something like that? Fuck, but I actually would. I actually would. This is what I mean. When Trump met with Carney earlier, one, we're not getting any news about tariff relief. Still, the case that we're keeping these idiot fucking tariffs on, even against Canada. But two, there was a major point that just gets glossed over, especially considering Donald Trump's supposed to be the anti-war president, right? People genuinely thought Hillary Clinton was going to get us involved in World War III. Donald Trump outright said he's not against the idea of military action to take Greenland. To take Greenland against their will. To take Greenland against the will of everybody else. Like, He's totally fine with using military action to seize another piece of land from the people within it. That's not top story news. We're not talking about that. Just gets glossed as Trump being Trump. Just like when Trump says he's going to run for a third term. That's Trump being Trump. Trump has called for suspending the U.S. Constitution. That wasn't a career ender. January 6th, that wasn't a career ender. He's alienated us from our allies. He sided us with Russia. These are not career enders. Like, we're at this really, really dark place in America right now, but our conversation is on stupid. I'm not helping them.
Extraction request confirmed. Shuttle inbound.
I'll move this thing closer here.
Support weapon. Orbital inbound. Firing orbital barrage. Clear the area. T-minus 1 minute 30 seconds.
I should have just stemmed and ran back. I don't know why I thought I could kill him on the spot.
T-minus 1 minute.
Deej, you wanna come on voice and chat about it?
Request approved. Deploying reinforcements. Helldiver, reporting to the front.
The Hassan Ethan Klein one? I did.
Orbital inbound. Firing requesting T-minus 20 seconds. T-minus 10 seconds.
I was gonna say talk about unfuck America, but we can talk about the Hassan Ethan Klein shit if you want to.
Pelican 1 arriving at coordinates. Calling in reinforcement budget depleted. Pelican 1 landing in progress. Calling in orbital strike. Firing orbital strike. Helldiver reporting to the front. Countdown initiated. Stand by for takeoff. Extraction. Pelican 1 beginning ascent. Democracy prevails once more.
Friends, where's the Deeger? Where's the DJ? I don't see it, motherfucker. Where you at? Cooking? That's women's work. What are your thoughts on Trump's performance so far? We are 3 months in. You voted for the man. Well, I don't know if you voted for him in 2016. Actually, I shouldn't say that. You told me you were dead set against voting for him in 2020, but everything you do just kind of like... You were like the most... Yeah, you were like the most stealth MAGA ever, in my opinion. Like, you don't have the balls to just embrace being MAGA, but you're willing to carry water for pretty much all of their talking points. He hated voting for Kamala Harris. Amazing.
Hellpods prime.
He couldn't stand it.
Allied destroyer.
Pitted in his stomach.
Thrusters.
I hate this planet. We are barely like 90 days into Trump's administration. We're not exactly having primo results, in my fair opinion. Hate's such a strong emotion. I think a lot of people are under this apprehension that you either have to like love your candidate, right, unconditionally, or you got to hate everything about them. There's not like this. Well, I shouldn't phrase it like this way. I mean, you don't need an idealized perfect candidate, right? I don't know where the hate comes from. You shouldn't have hatred for other human beings in your heart.
Let our enemies choke upon their territorial ambitions.
Yeah, my guy, you're kind of a pussy. You're still talking about Leah Thomas. I didn't even bring her up. You brought her up. Holy shit. You really, really just... You are so obsessed. You are so obsessed. What is it with, like, Trumples and, like, trans people? Why are you motherfuckers so obsessed? Bye.
Clear the area.
Did you drop a turret there? I don't know why. But okay.
Tagging map. North, 200 meters.
I just hit him. I don't know that I could hit that. These fucking guys are annoying.
Found something.
You were thinking about me watching Dylan Burns live stream? Did I watch Dylan Burns live stream? Wait, why were you thinking about me? Wait! Hang on, I'm not entirely clear on what you're getting at. He's debating another MAGA grifter. They're all grifters. Which grifter is he debating this time?
Automaton outpost scrapped.
Who is Dylan Burns debating? Which MAGA grifter is it? I don't tend to find any of them have anything particularly interesting to say. Last major one I talked to was... Let's see, I talked to Average Debate Enjoyer, Pentuple TV, and Admiral Gibbs. Those are like the last few like MAGA personalities or quasi-MAGA personalities I feel I've talked to. I don't feel like any of them had anything particularly interesting to say. I don't think Rob Noah or Fabian have anything particularly interesting to say. That motherfucker. God damn. I think so. Like when I was talking to Admiral Gibbs, I think he had like a take that was like kind of gross to me. The last time I spoke to him, I think he was talking about immigration is like always their big pet issue, but he kind of like was talking about you know, like death camp moats, like something to that effect. Like, oh, we should if we had to shoot people crossing the border, you know, it would be justified. And it's like, bro, like we're not having real immigration reform with these people. These people are insane, bloodthirsty, and the sad thing is we've kind of let Trump drag us into this position where, you know, American citizens get deported, and not only do we condone it, we celebrate it, and we say, yeah, this is what I voted for. I don't think I can hit this. Uh-oh, that's on me. That bounced. But yeah, in my experience, none of them have anything particularly interesting to say. Fabian, Rob Noor, like Rob Noor's entire shtick is just like, it's just a giant gish gallop, and like gestures to hypocrisy. Like, what about when the Dems did this? And it's kind of a boring conversation every time with Rob Noor because it's the same thing. It's the same with Fabian. Like they don't have much of substance to say. They don't have anything to say. I didn't even talk to Fabian last time, but last major thing I got out of Fabian was when he was debating Justin, and he called him a groomer, which is just gross, but that's where we're at now. You know, I'd like some help dealing with all these fucking Hulks that I've been soloing. Don't worry, I'll get it. Pain in the ass there.
I'm on the terminal.
You cannot have this system set up with a bunch of rules and have a gigantic hole where it's just acceptable to break the rules. What are you talking about? What system are we talking about? What rules have been broken? Did I ever interact with Kid Notkin ever? That name doesn't sound familiar, so I'm just going to say no. But I mean, it's possible I have, and I just don't remember.
I'm on the terminal.
The only people breaking the rules in immigration is Donald Trump. There's a rule that says you can't deport this guy to El Salvador, and he deports this guy to El Salvador. Right? He breaks the rules. There's a rule that says you got to listen to the Supreme Court when they say bring them back, and he says we're not bringing them back. That's the person who's breaking the rules. That's the true illegal. And nobody, there's this meme. So you're doing the same thing, Deej, and I'm not surprised. You're dishonest like this, just like every other conservative. There's this meme that Democrats just open the borders to immigration. To immigrants, as if to welcome them here. Say, just come on in. You know, doors open. We're going to give you taxpayer-funded everything. Conservatives repeat this, you know, on end, and it's just not true. Like the border was being enforced under Democrats. Joe Biden was deporting people. If your argument said with earnest sincerity, with a straight look on your face, was that Democrats were just not enforcing the rules. They just said, to hell with the rules, you're full of shit. And it's time we stop letting Republicans dictate that fucking narrative. How the hell do I get out of here? There's a big-ass mountain in the way. Oh, man, I actually got to go all the way around this thing. Most people who talk about immigration do so in dishonest ways. The conversations never start on an honest point of... They never start with an honest evaluation of the impact of immigration, for one. Such as the fact that immigrants reduce crime. or such as the fact that immigrants are good for the economy. They grow our economy. Consistently, our conversation is mired by these toxic stereotypes, that they're here as criminals, they're going to rape everybody. That it's a meme that Republicans like to trot out every single time they can to talk about immigrants in a way that stands in the way of any immigration reform. We're never going to get immigration reform because we can't have a normal conversation in this country, and we can't have that normal conversation because of Republicans. We had an immigration reform bill, the Langford immigration bill, right, as a serious attempt at reforming our asylum system. By the way, our asylum system says you do have to let people in here. Our asylum system says that you can immigrate, you can cross the border illegally and make a valid claim of asylum. And a lot of people are doing that. A lot of people, they don't run from Customs and Border Patrol. They turn themselves into Border Patrol because they have a valid asylum claim that they want to be heard. Now, you can argue that's abusable, and I wouldn't disagree with that, but Republicans get no room to bitch about it since they tanked the Langford immigration bill. If they really cared about immigration, they wouldn't have tanked the Langford immigration bill. They would have backed it. If they really cared about immigration, John Boehner wouldn't have killed the Gang of Eight immigration reform bill under Barack Obama. Or they wouldn't have killed the DREAM Act under George W. Bush. Like, every single time there's an attempt to reform our broken immigration system, Republicans stand in the way of it. Republicans are to immigration what a fat guy is to a movie theater. There's just this giant block in the way of anything being seen or done. Enjoy that analogy. Let's see.
I'm on it.
It's now kosher in America to just hate immigrants. Well, no, it's always been a country that hated immigrants. I shouldn't say that. It's just now we've thrown off all pretenses of being a country of immigrants, which is insane to me. In the House, you only need a simple majority to pass anything in the House. It's the Senate where the issue is, where you need a filibuster-proof majority. So the only way you're getting that is if you work with Republicans, which is what Democrats have consistently tried to do. They tried to do it for the DREAM Act, right? That was one. I think that was like John McCain's baby, no less. Tried to do it with the Gang of Eight bill under Barack Obama. They tried to do it with the Senator Langford's immigration bill. Like, every single time there's an attempt at resolving this issue, it comes from Democrats, and every single time it fails, it fails because of Republicans.
Engaging terminal.
You have ignited the torches of liberty. Extraction awaits.
Reinforcing.
Uh-oh.
Fire in the hole.
Earlier I got 100 super credits. That was awesome. Need to go buy some lottery tickets with that kind of luck.
Tagging map. Southeast. 200 meters.
Okay, yeah, we can go kill this thing. I don't see why not.
Marking extraction point.
Calling down supplies. Sending down equipment package.
Calling down a sentry.
Now, some of the stories, like, I read about these ice raids, they're, like, really depressing shit. Like, you know, person who lived here for 30 years, you know, was brought to America as a child, grabbed by ICE for deportation. Like, stuff like that. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, that person, for all intents and purposes, is an American. Right? Except by paper, that person's an American. Alright, okay.
Marching orbital strike.
And then there's almost a sadistic, you know, pornographic, like, you know, level of cruelty coming from the Trump administration. For example, giblifying giblifying like a lady get deported, like crying while in handcuffs. It's not based. It's not epic. It's fucking cruel, and it's just like, dude, why? Like, why is this who we are as a country? Like, we're the sort of people who would, like, I don't know, man.
Orbital inbound. Orbital barrage incoming. Stand clear. Orbital barrage incoming. Stand clear. ETA T-minus 1 minute.
This guy's about to get himself killed. Dog, I need you to pull a trigger. I'm getting ragdolled everywhere.
T-minus 30 seconds. ETA T-minus 20 seconds. Orbital inbound. Orbital from ETA T-minus 10 seconds.
That's funny.
This is Pelican 1, preparing for touchdown. Reloading! Joining the fray. Countdown initiated. Stand by for takeoff. Reinforcement budget to extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
Victory was never in doubt.
Let's go check on Dylan Burns. Twitch. Does he still stream on Twitch? It's been forever since I've watched a Dylan Burns.
Spoiler alert, like you shouldn't get increased federal funding for violating federal law. Right, 8 U.S.
Well,
Code 1324, harboring an illegal alien.
Having an undocumented
They should be in a
person your
federal
district-
facility.
Having an undocumented person in your district isn't violating federal law.
Providing services to them is 8 U.S. Code 1324. You cannot harbor or provide aid to a person who's illegally entered this country.
When you say provide
It is
aid,
absolutely a violation of federal code.
Provide aid.
Providing aid, you just said they're using their systems, their welfare
aid,
systems.
Provide aid specifically refers to providing aid away from federal capture.
No, it's providing aid in general. Harboring them would be so. If I harbor you, what am I doing? I'm letting you into my house and I'm letting you eat
That's
my
what,
food.
See, they're saying harbor because it's trying to hide
Harboring
you.
and providing aid. Harboring and providing aid.
providing aid in
So
the
you
name
don't think that
Why
keeping
would-
you don't think that feeding them food and giving them access to your welfare system is harboring and providing aid? I think it is.
Feeding them food? Oh no.
If
And
somebody
you shouldn't
was-
be allowed to do this.
Find case law.
Declaring a sanctuary city, you don't get extra federal funding for that.
What do you mean? Extra
Sanctuary
federal
cities
funding
don't
for creating a
provide-
You just said
Aid
they need
in the
extra-
way he's
you
using
said
it,
they
whatever.
need extra federal funding because they're using their systems.
Federal funding would only come if the people were to come and place that increased burden on the
No.
system.
No, not
Which would
true.
also
You
be
get
self-defeating.
you get federal funding based on the census. So if you have more people included in the census, you get more
Yes, but
federal
then you
funding.
have
You
more
also get
people
more
to provide
congressional
for.
seats and electoral voting power.
Then you have more people.
None of that means to provide aid in the sense of the word for the law. It's just not. But I assume
Orbit synchronized.
I assume this is a talking point that's going to be sticking around for a fair bit, just based on how often I hear it. We'll see.
Allocate
Right,
funds as
don't we?
necessary.
Thank God for states' rights. Am
You
I
don't.
right?
You don't have state rights. You cannot
we don't?
violate federal law as
We
a
don't have
state.
state rights?
States cannot violate federal. You have states' rights. States can act outside of federal law, right? They can't violate federal law. They can do what they want, not in violation
So
of
when
federal law.
Biden does the AR-15 ban, you're gonna ask all the state people to throw in their AR-15s in the big basket.
Well, it's just gonna be like constitutional law, right? So you can't act outside like the supreme law of the land, and you're not gonna be able to act outside of federal code. A AR-15 ban wouldn't be federal code. It would be like a bill, like the.
I love
like
armchair
the-
lawyers.
Why are we not talking about the interesting things? I want to ask you a question. When are we going to?
Well, I gotta go soon.
Okay, last question.
How convenient.
What do you think
Okay,
about
fine.
what should happen to the homegrowns? Do you think the
The
homegrowns should
yeah.
go to El Salvador like Trump says?
No, of course I don't think that American citizens should be deported abroad. I don't agree with that. I do, however, think that just soil legal doctrine in terms of like giving birthright citizenship should be revoked. It was never the intention. If you look at the author of the 14th Amendment, he specifically said in his explanation before Congress after he wrote the 14th Amendment that this would not apply to aliens. This was the case for the Civil Rights Act of 1887 or 4, I forget, 1880 something. That also
This is a meme talking
specifically
point.
said that people born in American soil are American citizens, except for the people who are born of aliens or diplomats. So
Diplomats.
this was never the
It's
intention
for
of the 14th
diplomats.
Amendment.
It's not
It should
aliens.
have never been interpreted that way. It was actually the Ark Wong Kim Supreme Court case years after the man who wrote the 14th Amendment died that they decided that suddenly they forgot that he said that it didn't include illegal aliens, and they ruled it completely against it. The outside
They
of
forgot.
like the jurisdiction.
They just.
Apparently, it was just another case of
Supreme
judicial
Court just
bullshit
like
activism, just like
oopsie
Roe v.
doopsie.
Wade. No, I don't think it was oopsie doopsie at all. I think it was judicial activism, just like Roe v. Wade in 1973.
Got you. Okay. Well, I still live in a. When I go home, I still live in a blue state where abortion's legal. Thank the Lord. We don't have to get the coat hangers out.
Nobody's doing oh my god, this is another myth, dude. Like nobody's doing cohanger abortion, bro.
I feel more traditional tall thing of stairs is more of a traditional.
Do you know why it's called back? This is the last thing before I go. Do you know why it's called back alley abortions?
A big rock.
It's called back alley abortions because they enter the clinic through the back alley. Have almost always been performed by clinicians from the very beginning. This has been the case since pre-World War II.
Are they more or less dangerous than normal abortions performed by?
If both are performed by a
sterile
doctor
medical
in a
environment?
clinic, I would say they're the same. I would say that they're the same if they're both performed by a clinician in a clinic, which has been the case since pre-World War II.
So you would say that banning abortion and not banning abortion, the level of fatality from abortion services being provided, that safety is
Well,
not
I don't know.
affected by bans?
If morons are letting Darwin do his thing and they're shoving coat hangers up their vaginas. I don't necessarily
not
like
what I'm
in the action of.
What I'm
So
asking-
like if I want to kill my child and I shove a coat hanger up my vagina and I die, I don't necessarily feel bad.
Okay,
right?
well now that we got that
At
out
all,
of your
actually.
system, what I meant was, when they don't have the oversight anymore, and we don't have boards going to these clinicians, and we have people in the back alley saying, "Sure, I'm a doctor, I'll do it." I mean, again, they're
No, it's not people in the back alley. You don't understand. The term back alley abortion comes from women entering
Yes,
the back door of the
understand,
clinic
I
through the back
understand.
alley.
Through the back alley. So where do you talk to the doctor?
What do you mean? Where do you
Where's
you
the front
get
door
let
of
in
the
through the
office?
door and you talk to the doctor
Through
in the
back
clinic?
whatever, okay. But my point
Through the
was,
back door of the building.
It's a turn of phrase. I wasn't saying that they're going to have the abortion literally in the back alley.
But
My
I think
point-
but I think a lot of people think that. I think a lot of people think they're like there's like hundreds
This
of
is a dumb
thousands of
debate.
women in back
God, I
alleys
can't
next to a
get my-
dumpster like shoving
I
a
can't-
coat hanger up their vagina.
All right. If that's the MAGA debate happening now, it's not even worth. It's not worth much. It's not the most exciting debate.
Sending in an eagle.
Can he destroy that with that?
West, 50 meters.
Oh, I was gonna let him do it. That's alright, I'll just throw a grenade at it. That works. I think if you were to ask what a sanctuary city means to a Republican, you're likely to get some wildly different answers. Like, illegal immigrants getting welfare is just one of these truisms that just doesn't die. It's not true. It's never been true. To get any kind of public support, you need a social security number. Oftentimes, they don't have one. If they do, you know, it's stolen, and they're only opening themselves up for, like, serious risk of deportation by going to any kind of, like, welfare office. It just doesn't happen. I think the people who tend to tell this meme are people who themselves have never actually been on welfare to understand it. Which is it's usually a pretty obvious tell when... I feel like I could tell how rich you are based on how you talk about public assistance, welfare assistance, anything like that. Because I used to... I grew up pretty poor. I was on food stamps once, man. And it was like $100 a month, and it wasn't a lot for groceries. But it was super helpful to have that. But every time I talk to anybody else about food stamps, you know, it's this abused system where people are selling their food stamps in exchange for hard cash, and we need to... Every reform they come up with is just like, we need to kick people off of it. Fuck, I think I even saw the same meme for Medicaid just recently too. Like, where's this meme that people on Medicaid are just lounging around the couch, too lazy to work? I don't feel like conservatives understand the idea of disability. Oops.
Calling in reinforcements.
Oops.
Point me to the enemy.
This is not where I want to be. I was in the right area. Why didn't you just let him reinforce me? You fuckers. Have I gotten the 20 Scout Strider shit yet? Okay. Is that our...
Marking location. Northeast.
Whatever. I'm coming, Emery C. Prime. I got your back, buddy. Never mind, I don't. Good luck. Whee!
I'm on it. I'm on it. Engaging terminal.
Requesting air support.
I got the terminal. Detecting vehicle. Engaging terminal. Requesting orbital strike. Requesting orbital strike. Firing orbital barrage, clear the area.
On outpost front. Calling down a sentry. Requesting sentry. Sending in an eagle.
That is a scary flamethrower. Hello? Guy with the big ass truck. Oh, never mind. Okay.
Requesting air support.
Fuck you.
I got the terminal.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Calling down a support weapon. Reloading. Engaging terminal.
Beep. 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 I don't think we really need to stay there.
Another triumph for managed democracy.
Dropping a
May liberty guide your safe extraction.
That shouldn't be hard. Except this guy just driving off.
Dropping a pin. North
Okay, enough for me.
tagging map. West, 300 meters.
Was that it for the Dylan Burns thing?
Indian paramilitary
That's
personnel.
boring.
India's military said it had hit 9 targets. Justice is served.
Ah, he's
the Indian
talking
Army
about
wrote on X in
the-
a short statement. Jai Hind, victory to India. Senior Indian officials have spoken to their counterparts in a number of countries to brief them on the steps taken by New Delhi. A senior Indian government official told CNN. They briefed the United States, the United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Russia. Okay, so to be honest, we don't really.
Ooh. Let's listen to what Sinatra says us to say.
Approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry,
After I listen to this
sauce,
ad.
double dipped in buffalo and
After this short
watermelon,
word from our
honey chili, and the
sponsors.
crispy strip dip, now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
A verifiable
Well, let's
evidence,
take a look
verifiable
here.
claim of rape from a first-hand account, and it's not from October 7th.
Okay, yes, I'm smearing you. Can we move on, please?
Okay.
Okay, very good.
All right.
Can you explain this tweet to me? This is your tweet, and I'd like you to summarize it for me. Here it is. So, go ahead, you can read it for me and explain the picture.
I can't. I don't know where it is.
Oh, you can't see it?
Oh.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Fantastic.
Okay, very good. I guess what's just a little delay for him, Dan?
No, I can see it. Bro really said my lived experience in Israel proper. Great.
What's the picture?
This is
What?
Zone of Interest. You're familiar, yes?
Explain for the audience what this picture entails.
This is Zone of Interest, which is a Oscar award-winning movie depicting the banality of evil.
Okay, that's boring. Just reliving that. Oh, that didn't even get near him. Ah! I was aiming for the tree above him. Not my wisest moment.
Joining the fray. Calling down a sentry.
Are we gonna extract?
Waxing orbital. Waxing orbital strike.
You've got to be shitting me. Run!
Calling in extraction.
Extraction request confirmed. Shuttle inbound.
That's hilarious. Zoop.
Democracy has landed.
Fuck it.
Preparing to depart. Shuttle launch in 20 seconds. Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
Another victory for the right side of history.
Did I ever watch your Michael Burns stuff? I don't know. I'm not sure of who Michael Burns is. Okay, I'm sorry. I was neglecting this. Holy shit. Wait, what did I wasn't looking at chat. I'm so sorry. When you say they reduce crime, that framing is pretty fucking crazy, to be honest. No, it's not. They reduce crime. They reduce crime. There's no framing about it. It's just factually true, Dylan. They reduce crime. Immigration reduces crime. That's a factually true statement. You know, you don't seem to have a problem with anybody framing it the other way, that immigrants are bringing all this crime to us, and immigrants are the cause of all this crime. I have heard Laken Riley's, I've got her name permanently seared into my brain as a consequence of the way conservatives talk about immigration. And it shouldn't be the case. It just shouldn't be the case. Was Reconstruction succeeding possible? I'm not entirely familiar with the era, but vaguely remember. And I mean, yeah, I guess Reconstruction succeeding was possible, but for lack of initiative by the Republicans to continue administering the South. They were interested in having a political win in the presidency. So they basically gave up the project, and it wasn't seen as popular because there were a lot of like economic panics. But yeah, I mean, I don't see why it couldn't have succeeded. I should watch Hanami's stream. Oh, Hasanabi. Dylan Burns one, Mr. Green. I didn't much care for it. Do I think El Salvador prison is base as fuck though? No. Why do you? Why do you, Dylan? Food stamps do help reduce waste of food. Here's the interesting thing about food stamps. It never gets argued, but food stamps return something like they return something like $1.70 for every dollar spent, or something like that. Or it might even be more. In fact, I'm wagering it's probably more. They're actually like an economic stimulus. Yeah, stop people from abusing food stamps. How? How do you stop people from abusing food stamps? What do you do that's not going to hurt people who genuinely need food stamps? I mean, the way you ask your question gestures to a very similar way that Republicans talk about immigration as a means of reducing crime. Yeah, I want crime reduced, but not at any means necessary, right? I don't want due process suspended to reduce crime. You know, and I don't, while there is waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, I don't want to hurt people who are hurting, who need help, in the name of cutting down on waste, fraud, and abuse. It hasn't been shown that we've been doing anything to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse in government. Republicans talk a big game about this all the time. They never actually effectuate any change that actually reduces waste, fraud, or abuse. Michael Burns? I don't know who that is. Let me look into that. Michael Burns. Huh. Okay. I mean, it looks interesting. How Trump used Christianity to win.
Okay. I think that Jesus helped Donald Trump win the election. I want to tell you why it's not going to be for why you think it is. And hey, what's up? I'm Michael. I'm not going to edit this one, so hopefully it works out.
Without watching this whole thing, is it just going to be that religion and Christianity and republicanism go hand in hand in this country? They have this cultural tie. Donald Trump himself, being a cult leader, has a kind of a Jesus-like aura about him.
Okay. I think I've been thinking about since Trump won. I've been thinking about a lot of things, but one in particular is how Protestantism sort of set him up for this victory. Now, in Trump's victory speech, he made this comment about how people are saying because Jesus saved him from 2 assassination attempts, then Jesus wants him to save this country. And it taps into this Christo-fascist, Christian nationalist language. And that's real and that's bad. But I think...
if you think Donald Trump was saved by the Lord Jesus Christ, as if he were to curve the bullet headed for Donald Trump to hit that Corey Compatore guy, or whatever the firefighter's name is, it makes Jesus seem like a bit of a dick. I'm just saying.
What set him up for this victory and what sets up a certain type of conservatism or right-wing politic in general is Protestantism. And to make it really reductive, Protestant individualism. Now, if you don't know a lot about Christian theology, that's fine. I'll tell you a little bit.
Oh, God, and it's a Protestant work ethic. I already know where this is going. I can continue watching, but I already know where this is going.
A reductive take here is that under Protestantism, there's a vertical relationship between the individual and God, right? I am saved because of my individual relationship to the divine. And it really makes the important part of my existence me and my individual singular relationship to some divine entity, right? Now, Protestantism kicks off just in time to merge with industrial capitalism. And what do we get under capitalism, right? And I know we're talking about capitalism, blah, 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 but stick with me. In capitalism, we have a similar type of salvation, right? My individual sort of economic subjectivity can be saved by my relation vertically to the market, right? These two things work together really, really well. And, look at some of the language we got in the Trump campaign. There's the ad folks have talked about that I guess ran a bunch in Pennsylvania that was like, Trump is running for you, the individual.
Kamala's for
Harris
they,
is
them.
Running for they, them. And obviously that's like a transphobic thing. But if we think about it more broadly, the implication could be that one party is about you, the other party is about everyone else. It's about them. It's about those individuals. And, it has happened that Protestantism has become its own form of civil religion, especially in America, and it's merged with capitalism. Now, Walter Benjamin, a German philosopher, he said this in a fragment about capitalism as religion. He said, a religion may be discerned within capitalism as religion. That is to say, capitalism serves essentially to allay the same anxieties, torments, and disturbances to which the so-called religions offered answers. But the difference for Benjamin between capitalism and religion, in particular Christianity, he says, capitalism is the celebration of a cult without dream of mercy. There are no weekdays. There is no day that's not a feast day. The terrible sense that all its sacred pomp is unfolded before us. Each day commands the utter fealty of each worshiper. And when we think about Protestantism, right, there's a sense in which I am guilty, I am a sinner, so I need to make myself worthy of God in that individual relationship. Capitalism doesn't really offer a salvation, right? Because it doesn't end. There's that sense of guilt by which you must always produce, and when things go bad, it's your fault. Now, think about this relative to American politics, and I guess American social and economic life more generally. If you fall for this kind of, I don't want to say fall for, that's kind of...
No, that's the right
blaming.
word.
But if you live under this form of subjectivity that's shaped by Protestantism and capitalism, then when stuff goes bad, you're sort of like, that's on me. You know, I need to do better. I need to work harder. It's that sort of like American bootstrap logic. But there's also this sense then in which you look at others and it's like, it's their fault they're not saved. Those people that aren't like me, that are struggling, those people that don't have as much as me, those people who are complaining about injustices, they need to do the work of their individual salvation. Now, to say this very quickly, you know, that individualism is relative to a more communal, communitarian spirit you get in earlier Christianity. Shout to the book of Acts. This isn't a Christian video, by the way. I'm not going to lead you in a call to prayer. If that's your journey, that's fine. You know, I went to youth group. I had a youth pastor that then married an 18-year-old when he was like 30 or something like that. It's a really cool culture there, but that's not the point right now. I think that there's a sense then in which that helps Trump win, right? That sense of individualism. And you might ask, like, well, didn't the other side offer a communitarian spirit? Didn't that lose? Wasn't that rejected? Well, no, right? Because what you see the Democrats doing, especially in like the Harris campaign, but most modern Democrats, you know, there were signs I saw in my neighborhood that were like, Kamala Harris, for the people. But was she for the people? Because we know their policy was largely shaped by like her brother-in-law, who's a lawyer at Uber, and from Mark Cuban and from guys in the finance and crypto industry, right? They basically were like, we want to give you some, you know, communal treats, some little stuff here and there, but ultimately it's still a market-based political ideology, right? So it's even like a crappy version of it. It's not a full-on individualism. It's not a full-on, more communal, egalitarian thing. Now, I want to end with this. When we look at sort of what happened with the Trump campaign, right? You know, there could be a sense in which if religion, and in particularly a certain form of Protestantism, helped facilitate that victory, well, maybe we want to deconstruct that. Maybe we want to fight that theological politic with atheism, with secularism, with whatever it might be. I think that would be a bad idea, because I think religion, when looked at properly and when considered in a proper theological context, is on the side of those that want universalism, on the side of those that want...
One of these things that religion's really good at, it's kind of plugging this wider gap of, there's a societal hole we have, right? There's this lack of meaning we have, you know, and this greatest generation, the World War II generation, that they could find this meaning in service to the country in fighting this great war, right? Or after the war, there's this greater meaning to be had with fighting against the Soviet Union, right? This idea that we stand in defense of democracy and Christianity and the American way of life, and they stand against it. So we built a real us versus them dynamic all throughout our history where we had some sort of meaning rooted in that. And Christianity, right, not just Christianity, but all religion, it's really good at providing meaning to people. On individual levels, on communal levels, it's really good at seeking out meaning for people to cope with their own existence. And I think one of the things we've kind of lost track of in America, this applies to both the right and the left, but most perniciously with the right, because they've weaponized religion to this end. But we've suffered from we have a deficit of understanding. We don't know how to create meaning anymore. There's not any big projects we're building, right? There's no, we're going to go to the moon in 9 years. There's no Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, right? Everything that we could like cheer on America for, look forward to for America, right? We could make a dynamic for an America we wanted to live in. We've kind of lost that over the years. And probably one area where we had a chance to actually be united for some greater project, we unfortunately we fumbled it, right? It's the war on terror, because terrorism is a scourge all across the world. Terrorism affects us the same as it affects everybody else, but what we ended up seeing during the war on terror was just this complete abdication of American values. This society built on levels of fear, right? We weren't in America we really wanted to live in. If that makes any sense. That's really hard to do that while playing a video game.
You know, egalitarianism on the side of those who want a communal, a commune sort of living. And again, I'm not leading an altar call. I'm not going to tell you to give your spirit to the Lord or go take communion or anything like that. If you want to do it, I don't judge you. That's your journey. But what I am saying is, if people want to believe that their politic is grounded in a religious ideology or spirit, well, one can make that argument relative to Christianity, relative to Judaism, relative to Islam. I don't know about every religion in the world, so I don't want to...
It is clearly relevant to Christianity, but, you know, saying King...
Go too crazy here. But, you know, and this is another thing that Walter Benjamin talks about. Walter Benjamin uses this notion of messianic time, right? The Messiah in both the Old and New Testament. It's this thing that's going to come save us. The Messiah is the one that's going to come make things right. And when he talks about messianic time, a simple way to think of this is like this time where something totally new happens, and that moment, this new thing, sort of redeems what was and creates a new future. It's different than a world of constant modifications of sort of a linear temporality in which we try to make things a little better here and there. And I think that's what people want, you know, and what we need, a sort of messianic moment, not a messianic moment that's like one of those weird pure flicks Christian.
As weird as this going to sound, I feel like we had this quasi-messianic moment through the presidency of Barack Obama. People tend to remember slogans more than they remember actual policies. There's this really depressing street interview once where people are asked what do they prefer between Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act, and they're the exact same thing. But people overwhelmingly said they really like that Affordable Care Act, and they don't really much care for their Obamacare. People are easily distracted by slogans, and Democrats are very bad at sloganeering in the same way Republicans are. Hope and change, that was effective, right? Hope and change was something noble, right? Something fresh, something new. When you're coming out of this financial crisis, you know, after you have 8 years of Republican presidency, ends in a financial crisis. Then you have 8 years of Republican presidency. You have 2 wars going on, just non-ending quagmires that just destabilize the whole region, which for some reason Republicans have just totally escaped responsibility for these days. The whole region is still just a giant nightmare, and a lot of that can be traced directly to the Republican Party, but for some reason, no accountability. Republicans are really good at messaging in kind of messianic ways. We're at this civilizational precipice, right? All these illegal immigrants are coming in. They're going to redefine us, right? We can't even say, you know, God bless you or Merry Christmas anymore. Like, everything to them, it's just a civilization clash, right? The America they know and love, it's on its decline, and only them, the red-blooded true Americans, that is the Republican Party, can save it. That's the way they consistently frame their politics. And when they don't do that, you know, when you got somebody like John McCain who says, you know, actually, you know, we're all Americans, and you know, we just want different things, but, you know, we all love this country, that ends up being a losing message for the Republican Party. And part of that's because Pat Buchanan and since the 90s have been like pushing the conservative movement rightward towards this extreme racial element. Everything is in messianic terms for them, and Democrats just don't talk like that. Oof. Back to the video.
Christian movies where Kirk Cameron, you know, helps lead the true believers in an underground Christian community as they're being persecuted by like liberals with blue hair, right? We're talking about a messianic event that's revolutionary, you know, and this is like another thing that Walter Benjamin talks about. That messianic time is time of a revolutionary event. You know, he says, let's see. Yeah, he talks about a messianic moment and says, you know, it gives us the awareness that they're about to make the continuum of history explode. It's characteristic of the revolutionary classes at the moment of their action. So, in the same way that in the Bible, ever heard of it? That Jesus comes and inaugurates a new time, a revolutionary moment. It's sort of shifting history. Like, we have that structure and that logic in religion. So while I think that a certain version of Jesus and a certain type of ingrained Protestantism in American culture sets someone like Trump up for victory, paves the way for a certain type of Christo-fascism or Christian nationalism, I don't think it's smart for us to associate Trumpism with Christianity or with the religious in an all-out sense. I think it's important to note that there is a counter-tradition, not even a counter-tradition, like a tradition, maybe the tradition in, you know, the Abrahamic faiths, you know, in the New Testament in particular, that is on the side of egalitarianism, that is on the side of universalism.
Yeah, when? Like 100 years ago during the social gospel movement? It feels like we're well past that point since the moral majority of the 80s. Since the AIDS crisis in the 80s was able to coalesce around Republican conservative politics, I don't think we've had an egalitarian movement within Christianity. I can't see shit over there. Yeah, sure. Let's go see what you got. Anyway, it's an interesting video in its own right. I've actually been doing a bit of study on my own Bible recently. I'm taking notes on various different oddities that I was curious about. To an extent, it's fitting because the Bible's always been something of a political tool. What are we coming here for? What are we looking for?
I'm on it.
What's up, kitty? Hey, kitty. You are not gonna get off my cat. I love you too, but you... Hey, cat. Oh my god. Can I have my mouse and keyboard back at least? Thank you. There's the example of the abolitionist movement and the civil rights movement. Yeah, you're right. For every movement where there's been this is kind of the fun thing about it. You can find relevant religious influences on every side of any political issue, especially in American history, where we've always had this deep religious tradition. But I guess one of the key differences is something like the abolitionist movement or the civil rights movement is that the religious right would find relevant verses to justify a lot of their bigotry, and it would be kind of hard to say, no, the Bible doesn't endorse slavery, for instance. Because the Bible clearly supports slavery. It's endorsed in multiple points in the Bible. Okay. Don't step on me.
You will never destroy our way of life. Only get 30 seconds.
That was fun.
Victory was never in doubt.
Alright, let's see what else this guy's got. America has me pissed and depressed. Okay. Jordan Peterson can't read the Bible. True! The real reason conservatives hate empathy. All right, let's listen to that one.
Empathy is bad. Hell, it might even be a sin. At least
True.
according to Elon Musk, who in a recent interview with muscular intellectual Joseph Rogaine said that we are experiencing civilizational, suicidal empathy. And for Musk, this is largely because empathy at the individual level is costly to the collective, or put differently, empathy for people is costly for corporations.
All right, just think of the argument here. We care too much about what other people think. Okay, that's their position. We care too much about what other people want, what their needs are. We shouldn't try to think as if we were poor or a minority or a woman or a gay or anything to that effect. God forbid we do too much.
You know, an example that Elon Musk gives is California providing medical insurance to undocumented folks. I mean, listen to
an undocumented person goes to the hospital. He's at his construction job and he cut his arm off. He shouldn't have been in this country. He was here illegally, but he cut his arm off. No documentation. He's got no documentation. He goes to the hospital. They have an issue with the doctors ensuring he doesn't bleed to death, getting paid for it. If they're against healthcare, let me rephrase this. If they're against health insurance being provided for undocumented immigrants, what they're basically saying is that if these immigrants ever do end up in the emergency room, everybody else should have to pay. The doctors, the hospitals, they got to eat the cost, which passes on the cost of healthcare to everybody else. Everybody else has to deal with higher cost healthcare because of these people's lack of insurance. Versus if you just use the state system, or we can already negotiate prices, some sort of insurance system to ensure these people have health care and that the people treating these people are compensated, that's a no-go. In fact, that's expressive of too much empathy.
This shit. He says the fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy, the empathy exploit. He goes on to say that they're exploiting a bug in Western civilization, which is the empathy response. And empathy has been weaponized. And don't worry, because the right-wing evangelicals are talking about this one too. And there are some right-wing theologians who are legit arguing that empathy is actually tricking poor little Christians into like doing woke stuff. I don't know, this shit's crazy. I mean, seriously, can you imagine being like, oh, it's unchristian to have empathy? That's what they're saying. They're saying that it's unchristian to have empathy, to be empathetic. They're saying that to be empathetic is unchristian. And there's another recent book written by another right-wing Christian that's called Toxic Empathy. It's written by conservative podcaster Allie Beth Stuckey, more like Allie B. Sucky. And it's another book about how leftists and progressives supposedly exploit Christian empathy. It argues cool things like that empathy for migrants is actually unchristian. And the reviews for this one, well, I'm going to let some of these speak for themselves.
Not for nothing, but I'm pretty sure Jesus said the opposite.
It doesn't even attempt to disguise its hate for people different from the author. If Jesus was alive today, people like her would persecute him based on their twisted view of Christianity. Another review says, as a Christian and someone with an IQ higher than I can count on my fingers, this book is objectively horrible. And this one from Jude Yeager says, a pathetic attempt to claim progressives use empathy to bully them while using the modern hateful nature of Christianity to bully trans women, women who get abortion, and the gay community. I mean, I'm sure they meant abortions, but they're just like kind of angry. So I want to try to quickly talk about why people like this are attacking empathy and how we can use the philosophy of someone like Aristotle to talk about why empathy is actually super useful and even politically important. Now, to put this really simply, the logic of contemporary American capitalism prioritizes individualism and notions of individual freedom and liberty at all costs. Now, of course, this type of individual is antithetical to the practice of empathy. If we all have the freedom to do whatever we want and achieve wealth and success, well, why should I have empathy for a homeless person in my community? Empathy, on the other hand, challenges this type of individualism by asking us to relate to the experiences of those who are suffering. And when Musk says that there is a civilizational suicidal empathy happening, the civilization he's talking about is, of course, white Western capitalism. The same civilization that a lot of evangelical Christians love. They love capitalism. It's weird because these people won't have sex until they're married, but they'll just 69 with capitalism all night with no regrets, thinking that Christ is up there being like, oh yes, good stuff. Rub it till you bust. That was fun. And empathy is a weakness for someone like Elon because it stands in the way of pure market forces. For example, giving healthcare to migrant workers is economically inefficient, or building public housing is bad for real estate developers. I don't know why I'm using finger quotes. This is actually what these people think. Now, in the tradition of phenomenology, which is a type of philosophy, you can Google it, empathy isn't just like a feeling or a vibe. It's a way that we have an experience of the other. For example, if you tell me that you're hungry because you forgot to eat lunch, I can empathize with that experience because I too have been hungry before. And in imagining what my own hunger felt like, I'm able to empathize with that experience that is not mine. And in this version of empathy, we get a sort of co-being with another that leads to a type of intersubjectivity. And this intersubjectivity conflicts with that spirit of radical individualism. And it can help create a common world that allows us to transcend individual perspectives. And I bring up this phenomenological understanding because it reminds us that empathy is way more than just a feeling, which is how the toxic empathy crowd describes it. And I'm going to put a link to an essay on the phenomenology of empathy in the description if you guys want to check that out. You know, this speaks to what empathy is. Recognizing that the humanity of others is always already interlinked with my own humanity. And this fights against the tendency to make people that aren't like us wholly other, right? Like, I don't have to have empathy for a migrant because that's a totally different type of person than me, or for a trans person, or for a woman, or for someone suffering some type of oppression, right? Because they're not like me, so I don't have to worry about it.
I wonder what that... I'm tempted to read that book that was being referenced. I'm very, very curious on its insights. The major downfall of America over the last 20 years is that we suffer from an empathy deficit, right? We don't talk to each other anymore. We talk about each other. And when we talk about each other, we don't talk about each other in ways that are healthy. You know, we strawman the ever-living shit out of each other. We invent archetypes in our head that we then seek to tear down, and we cast the other side as this. And I'm gonna say this is the right. This is the right wing that does this. I mean, hashtag all sides, but no, this is the fucking right. Like when I was growing up, man, the number of times I heard about how I'm communist. Like ardent capitalist argues against communism all the time. It's just a favorite go-to.
Calling in orbital strike.
Orbital strike incoming.
Requesting orbital strike. Requesting air support.
Nearby.
Sending in an eagle.
We both got cooked. We both got slaughtered.
My leg. Calling in reinforcements. Heavy southwest. On my position.
Request approved. Deploying reinforcements.
Joining the fray. Support weapon.
Objective critical stratagem available.
Another sample.
I hear them. Where are they at? Alright, where's this bug breach at?
Requesting orbital. Requesting air support. Requesting fortification. Calling in orbital strike. Orbital inbound.
Firing orbital barrage. Clear the area. Firing orbital strike.
Cat, I love you, but you're kind of in my way right now. And I need you to move. You're in my way. Oh, now you're sleeping on my keyboard. I can't kick you off. But I fed you 2 weeks ago. What do you want?
Fire in the hole.
That was a little bit of an overkill. Alright, I'm gonna go feed you. Just let me finish this game, kitty. Curse you and your super cuteness, cat. Making me quit my games.
Danger south. Marking location.
I didn't even need that. Oh wait, I didn't grab my rocket launcher? Shit.
Freedom
Hi, cat. Hello, kitty.
Main objective nearby.
Sending in an eagle.
Objective critical stratagem available.
Love tunnel breach. Requesting orbital strike. Requesting air support.
Cat. Okay, you're like right here, right in front of my microphone. It's really distracting. I'm trying to play a game. You're in my way. Now you're showing me your butt. I don't want to see your butt. Oh my god, this cat's not going to let me play. You're very insistent.
Supplies. Point me to the enemy. Danger. Dropping a pin. West. 100 meters. Thank you.
There's this New York number calling me.
Danger. Heavy. South. Bugs. West. Calling down a sentry. Calling down fortifications. Calling in orbital strike. Sending in an eagle. Requesting orbital. Mag's empty. Reloading.
Orbital barrage incoming. Stand clear. Request approved. Reinforcements have been launched.
Democracy landed. Calling in orbital strike. Reinforcing. Point me to the enemy. Injury. Orbital inbound. Sending in an eagle. Calling in reinforcements.
Another step towards galactic liberation.
Tagging
You
back.
may extract
South, 100
when
meters.
ready.
Got equipment. Rare sample acquired. Bug hive spotted. Prepare to exterminate. Throwing grenade. Objective located. South, 300 meters. Objective located. Southeast, 200 meters. Reloading!
Goddamn bugs. What do I think of the best choice for Dem nomin? I think it's too early to say. I don't want to be doomer or anything, but I'm not excited at the moment about our electoral prospects, about the state of the country right now, about how insanely right-wing we've been drifting. So, you know, 2028, I'm terrified Donald Trump's going to run again. Who's to say, buddy? I could see AOC, but I don't know that she has ambitions for that level of. I don't know that she has presidential ambitions. One thing I will say that I think AOC is effective at tapping into, that I'm looking forward to more Democrats looking this way, is that she's very, very effective at a youthful and fresh messaging compared to the likes of like Chuck Schumer. Like, I don't think we can rely on these kind of old school Democrats like Chuck Schumer now to deliver results. I especially don't think this after Chuck Schumer gave the Republicans everything they wanted. I was bound to get it eventually. Whoa! I'm blind. Yeah, maybe. I think it's too early to speculate. I think it's too early to tell. I'm actually kind of excited. Let's just get through these midterms first. I think once the tariffs kick in and we start to really recognize that Trump's actions are a consequence. I'm sorry, that the economy, the empty shelves, the recession, you know, that stuff as a consequence of Trump's actions. I think maybe like our election prospects are going to look a little bit more positive. But maybe that's just wishful thinking. I don't know what to think anymore. Honest to God, do not know. Yeah, it feels like we're at a point where there's two different visions for what the Democratic Party should be. And the Republican Party kind of experienced the same thing. They just went a bad direction over it. But I think it's to a degree, I want to say it's like overall more reflective of their base. Whereas with Democrats, I think it more has to do with like stagnation. Like they don't really have direction. Like they're a bit directionless, I guess. And I think probably the big tell that this is the case is like the way Gavin Newsom behaves. Channel 5 dude. I don't know who Channel 5 dude is. It's been a while since I've been in the game, to be honest, and I need to get back into it. I'm trying to get in the habit of streaming again, probably making content again, talking to people again, although it's very, very slow when you get to adult. There's adult shit you gotta tend to. For instance, I have to end this stream right now because I gotta go feed my cat because she won't stop whining. And I haven't fed her in 2 weeks. No, I'm just kidding, I fed her. Andrew Callahan. Yeah, I love Andrew Callahan. Okay, now if you say Andrew Callahan, I know who that is. Oh. No. I'm going to go feed my cat and then feed myself, though. I like Andrew Callahan in his reporting. I haven't seen him on anything else. I haven't been keeping up with the space. I need to do that more. So, yeah. Yeah, it's good to talk to you, buddy. Thank you for checking in. I hope to stream some more in the future. So, you know, if you'd be so kind, hang around, say hi, you know, chill out and chat and all that. Otherwise, peace.